Welcome to the latest episode of Hard Hats and Headspace with me, Stuart Wallace. Today, I have a colleague and friend with me, Jennie Armstrong. She's the founder of Construction Health Wellbeing and also podcast host, and we'll get into that as we go. So I hope you enjoy today's show. Really important subjects that we're going to cover today, something we both have a lot of experience in and we can share. So welcome onto this podcast.
Thank you, Stu. Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, well, look, it's been a while coming. I think we've someone I wanted to get on the podcast for a while, and once I got over the fact that this is working and it is making a difference. So thanks for agreeing to be on here. Do you want to tell us, people listening a bit more about you and what you're doing and
absolutely.
your business?
I'm a nurse. I'm an occupational health nurse. I started my career working on the Olympics. So I was a very typical site nurse in a first aid room, looking after the construction workers. That was 2009. So I've been around a little bit.
Yep.
And I fell in love with construction. It wasn't necessarily that I hated the NHS, but the NHS was a very tough environment to work in.
Yep.
And I said very early on, look, keeping people well is much easier than looking after people that were really sick. I fell in love with the industry. I had a little bit of a wake-up call when I left the Olympics and realised that the world of construction wasn't
not quite the same.
Wasn't quite the same. And I've spent my time working on major programmes across rail. I spent 7.5 years on Tideway, working client side. Crossrail, lots of good major project experience, as well as working contractor side. Obviously, my time at Mace was, again, a really good eye-opening experience to see what is it like to be in the contractor world. I was very much used to being in the occupational health space. My boss at Tideway, Steve Hales, he said to me, right, well, what do you want to do? And I said, do you know what? I don't want to do another major program. I feel like there's more that I can offer. And I was seeing this big difference between big jobs, tier one contractors, and this world of smaller contractors, smaller jobs. And there was a huge difference between the ambitions around health and wellbeing. So I said, right, I'm going to set up my own business and try and address some of those challenges that are there and use the experience and the knowledge that I had around what actually works. And I focused solely on construction because I see this with health professionals. They can go and work in other industry. They come to construction and it's got so many unique elements. So many different dynamics. Like people aren't employed by the same people. People don't have the same benefits and terms and conditions. And actually, it is quite hard to pick up some initiatives from other industries and bring them to construction. So I wanted to dedicate my time to construction. And there's a lot of work to do. So now we've got a consultancy. So we provide occupational health and wellbeing specialisms to construction companies and construction projects. And really just our kind of main focus is how do we get health to be on the same level as safety. So lots of work to do. Keeps us very busy, but yes, very exciting times.
It is, and you're right about the differences in opportunity for benefits or provision of benefits is hard. And it's good that you've immersed yourself in construction because not many people do. So they need more of you. You should be incredibly busy. So where do you think the biggest crisis or focus we need at the moment?
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm with you on the health. Health has been neglected and loads of people say that and then I see the same safety stats.
Yeah.
So where do we focus on health? What's the big thing that's crying out for us?
Yeah. I think obviously we're both very passionate about the mental health agenda, so I am going to talk a lot about that today. Obviously, health has definitely been coming up the ranks. It's definitely not equal to safety. I think as we learnt with safety, we put systems in place, processes, resources, and actually we've seen obviously the statistics significantly reduce. From a physical health perspective, we know what causes harm. Noise, dust, vibration. We know that if we expose these people to workers, harm will occur. So let's put the same things in place, the systems and the processes, and make sure that we are doing absolutely everything we can to eliminate risk. And we are definitely not there. But I feel from my experience that we're definitely seeing progress. And then it comes to mental health. And I think this is where we are at this crossroads of what do we do as an industry? Because what are the systems, what are the processes, what are the things that we put in? And I don't think we've understood that. And I think that's why we're stuck in this space of not really moving forward. And we need to actually say, right, let's go back and say, what are the things we need to do?
I spoke to I speak to a lot of people all the time, but uh, I I met someone last week who's going through treatment for brain cancer, his brain tumor, and the outlook was amazing from this person. Works for a subcontractor of ours, and what he said was, physical and mental health go hand in hand, right? If your mental health's right, you're more likely to get up and move and do things and eat the right things,
Yeah, yeah,
etc. And so I think it's hard. It's a hard one to fix for us because you've got to fix the round rather than just the individual
yeah,
part. And I've seen some of the great work you're doing on some more projects, like the physical side on physiotherapy or the PSA testing stuff we've done, and all of those things hopefully will increase a bit of psychological safety as well for people to go, I'm not right, because they can get that done at work, and then that might improve their mental health as well. But it's all if, much, and maybes. I get that.
yeah.
But unless businesses invest the time and effort and money
Yeah.
that they do in the safety part, and split up that budget 50-50 and then 25-25 to the
Physical and
different.
mental. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think we've got to battle, but I think with companies like yours helping us and other contractors, we can make
Yeah.
a massive difference here.
Yeah, and I say to every organisation I start working with, you need to employ someone like us
Yeah.
as an employee, because unless you've got someone dedicated internally within the business, you're relying on external people to come in, and we're not immersed in, we don't understand. But my main aim for anyone I work with is, right, get to a point where you've got
Employ
enough,
your own.
you employ your own staff, and and you look at a health and safety team or a health, safety and wellbeing team, as a lot of companies have now.
Yeah.
And say, well, actually, how much time do they spend on health and well-being to safety? And probably still a big gap between what that is. And actually, how many health people do you have, or health people who've got the right expertise? And I'm not discrediting the health and safety professionals, because I meet many that really understand, I think, the physical health agenda well.
Yeah.
But I do meet a lot that still would put that, say, I'm a safety professional, I'm not a health professional. So there is a real big gap in knowledge and understanding. And I think when it comes to the wellbeing bit, what does that even mean? People have this on their job title, but what does that mean you do in your day-to-day role to say that you're a health and wellbeing manager as well? And I think that's where we are recognising the problem, but not taking the right action.
Yeah, because well-being is a massive encompassing term, isn't it?
And what does it mean to you? It'll mean different things to
Yeah,
all of us,
are my workforce happy? Are they well? Are they safe? I think it's a very wide term, isn't it? Well-being. I can't define it as a single bit.
And I think this is when you look at businesses saying, "Oh, we care about your well-being." Well, what does that actually mean? How do you measure that you care about your well-being? I know it's not all about data, and sometimes it's about culture and feeling. But I think the thought that you've just added well-being into now the health and safety policy means that you've ticked the box and you've done it. And actually, there's
it can feel
a
like
lot more thought and resource and time and energy that needs to go into it.
And defining what they want. I think I don't blame any business leader for saying, I consider the well-being of my workforce. Well, that's your job. I'm afraid that's what you earn the big bucks for, because the well-being of your workforce is what your success is dependent on. But what part of the well-being is it? Being able to get to work and do the job? Is it about the psychological health of your workforce? It's about the physical. Can you get that up there and stick it to the wall? Put the pipes and wires on walls. And it's interesting. Do you see a trend in focus from your clients at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is still a siloed effect of this. So I spend most of my time talking to health and safety teams. They get it. They get what they want to do. Trying to then infiltrate the rest of the business to understand what do we mean by well-being to the project directors, to the senior leaders of a company, and saying, actually, what is this? This isn't a fluffy thing that's just a nice to have. This is something that needs to be fundamental to program and profit, and it's how you look after your people. So I definitely see these pockets of really amazing work happening. It is a culture change to then infiltrate it into a business. And there's the trend that it's moving in the right direction, but still a lot of people are not perhaps understanding what it is that they need to do. And I see a lot of money being wasted. I see a lot of people saying, right, let's get a campaign, let's get a company in to do some yoga classes and all these things,
Yeah.
and actually not really thinking about what is it that we fundamentally need. And the focus is, let's look at the individuals. How do we look after people on an individual basis rather than let's look at ourselves as an organisation? What do we need to do to make sure we're creating an environment that people can look after themselves? And I think that's the direction that organisations are looking at, but not quite sure what that means.
It's good that they're pointing their sails in the right direction, I think.
Yeah.
And we just need to get the wind behind us. And I look at some of the places where I work and the clients that we work with, and they have this ambition to be the best, but they're not sure what that is. So it is important that we're pointing the right way, but they do. I feel like we as construction organisations need to focus, work out, right, well, let's do this bit, and it'll breed to this bit and breed to this bit, and it'll just grow.
Yeah.
Rather than going, well, we're trying to do all well-being. What does that mean? Yeah, it's interesting times.
Yeah. I know when I worked on Tideway, we had this ambition that if we wanted to be transformational, and we got asked all the time by the contractors, like, what does that actually? What does that mean? It was the aspiration of, you wanted to be different, but you need to sit down and say, right, actually, what are the things that we need to be?
What do you be different about?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I was fortunate enough to get invited to go to the Epic Induction, right? I thought it was brilliant. I thought it's not an induction, right? It's a safety intervention. I'd love to have the budget that they had to do that. And it was a good day, 5-7 hours. Brilliant. Yeah. And I thought that sort of thing is important. It is a safety moment. It's a day of safety moment. And it really is it's educating people. But it's not the induction part. It's not an induction.
Yes, because they would then go and still have the site inductions.
Yeah, still going to do the site induction, And
it was an opportunity for everyone from day one to feel that Tideway was different, and
it was.
And that's what they wanted to achieve. When you have such a transient workforce, people coming and going, like, how do people feel cared and feel that this is going to be different based on a standard induction, which is the safety bits that you need people to know, like where's the rules, what the rules are. So I mean, Tideway didn't get everything perfectly right, but
I'm not knocking it. I thought it was incredible, right? And it is heart wrenching when you do it, and the story changes each time. But I thought it was brilliant. I would like to see more of it in the industry. I think it's definitely something we should do. Aiming towards the supervisor blackout manager perspective. In our industry, should go through things like that across the piece. Probably be, sorry CITB, but it should be included in the triple SDS or the SMSTS, something like that. Some real scenarios in there. Says me, I haven't sat either of them, but I thought it was incredible. Yeah,
it's that hearts and minds piece that you can't teach in a standard environment. And I know that through the time at Tideway, that the mental health focus became more prominent in those storylines.
Yeah.
The supervisor being shouted at by the manager, and the impact that has, and how things then cascade down into the site workforce. And that was the evolution of how we tried to build some of that stuff into the whole safety piece. Whereas before it'd have been a separate session you do on mental health, and then this is a safety bit. So they tried to weave that in and recognise the interrelation between health, safety, and wellbeing. Yeah.
And it brought out, actually, what I found was it actually did address those, also the health and safety and the wellbeing elements together. Because, like you say, there was the mental health impact.
Yeah.
There's obviously the physical impact of whatever the scene is at that day. The impact on the family, on the colleagues around of an accident at work, and the things leading up to it. It was a really good holistic view. I've to see more of it. Well, it's the cost, isn't it, I suppose? Sure. But outside of wonderful client like Tideway, I see contracts where we're going to go above and beyond on a piece of paper. Okay, go on then. What is it? What do you want us to do? The EDI space is a perfect example, right? And I think, by the way, I think that sector's struggling, or the representation of people in the EDI space is struggling, following the change in America, the president. I know that's a long stretch, right, from what we're talking about, but I can see it realistically because it's giving people a license to go, this EDI nonsense, right? But that includes people with different disabilities, illnesses, all classed as disabilities, neurodiversities, and we need, I think, to focus or be better than that as an industry. Go back to where we were and work out what it is when we say we want to do more. We have an obligation to go above and beyond. What is it? What is it you want to go above and beyond on? We've got the physical safety stuff down pat, really.
Yeah.
If you look at the stats over the last 34 years, unbelievable improvements. Now it's time to look at health and well-being.
Yeah.
I think that's the key.
Yeah. I'm with you, and I think sometimes this focus on the suicide, it puts it. It's not related to us. This could be outside of work. So like yes, we care. Yes, we don't want that to happen, but that's not our responsibility. We haven't got a part to play in that. I'm not saying that every construction company is the reason why that someone takes their life, but there are fundamental things that could have happened in that project that could have stopped that from happening. And what are those things? And if we do those things, then we do play our part into trying to address it. We can't solve everything. We can't, pay people more. We can't sort out the relationship issues. But if we make the workplace the safe space that they can come to, then actually, what are the benefits that might bring to the suicide stats as a one measure that we might use?
Suicide, obviously, right, it's a big topic for us in our sector. I like Steve Kerslake's thinking on making it a riddle, right? I don't know what difference making it a riddle make apart from the investigation that has to happen.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, the resistance to that will be, you make it a riddle, people can get sued. And that'll be industry-wide, whereas it isn't at the moment. And that's wrong, right? But it's a genuine fear because it might come down to something you didn't know, right? And you couldn't see. So I like his thinking that it should be investigated.
Yeah.
And was the suicide caused by something at work?
And equally, did we do everything that we possibly could to prevent that from happening? It might be, the answer is yes, we did. We had the right programs in place. We looked at the stress. We understood that. And I think I would like to see more organisations doing that internal investigation, saying, look, what could we have done differently here? And even just from people going off with stress and depression, that's again, that's an individual factor. We'll look after that person, get them back to work. But actually, what could we have done differently? And we do it with safety. We learn. We say, right, how could this incident been improved? Let's talk about stress and depression being like an incident. Let's go back to that root cause analysis. Where are the things in here? And again, the answer may be we did everything we can, but I guarantee there'll be some things, we could have done better on this, and that continuous improvement process, like we do with safety.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it myself, right? And with my diagnosis, now I come in before anyone said anything and said, look, just letting you know, employer, I've been diagnosed with tough afternoon, anxiety, depression, and ADHD. ADHD wasn't a surprise, the rest was. It wasn't to everyone else in my house, but it was to me. But I love my job, my job's keeping me sane, and has done for the last 5 years. Look back now, if I'd have come and said I got a broken leg, but I think I'm all right, I'm going to carry on limping around, they wouldn't let me in. They go, you might think you're all right. I think I was all right? But there will be people who probably aren't mentally fit enough to come back into work. I felt relief at being diagnosed, but I just wonder whether there should have been a conversation. I can pick on me because it's me. Are you sure you're all right?
Yeah, there's conversations.
I went in and said, I have this, I have depression, I have anxiety. I'm being treated for it. Isn't it amazing that I've got these people? But as an industry, do we ever say, I'm stressed?
Yeah. And stress comes with such a negative kind of, well, look, we're all stressed here. It's the nature of the industry. This is the job. We all come to work and we're stressed. It's a challenging environment, and it's the normalising that it's okay to be stressed. Whereas the conversation is, right, like, what's going on here? What can we improve? What can we do better? It's a very different take, and perhaps doesn't come in with such a negative response to it. But and I see that quite often, and I look back in my nurse role days, and sometimes it would take people having to sign themselves off to see any improvement for that role. And good work is fabulous for people's mental health, and it's almost like the treatment for getting people back. And the longer people off, the harder it is to come back. But there are a number of times when the work isn't good, and actually you've got to look after yourself and to put yourself back in an environment that's, particularly stressful. You haven't got the right support from your manager, the client's putting too much pressure on you. Then actually health comes first, and those environments.
It's hard, isn't it, to get that message to people
Yeah.
and give them the support and show the leadership
Yeah.
for it. And I was guilty of people pleaser, massively a people pleaser. That's the first thing that my counsellor said. But since then, I started looking after myself a bit better. Oh, I'm not brilliant. I'm still not my ideal 9 stone weight for my height. I mean, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I'll give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, I had a day at one of our projects, big project. My day started at 8 in the morning. But also, I needed to see the night shift. So I worked all day, sort of hung around in the office, saw a few people, did some emails, blah, blah, and then start again for a night shift. And finished at about midnight and then went home. And that used to be quite often. It still might be. But this week I was really tired on the Wednesday morning, and it was the Thursday I was going to be doing. I was like, I'm not doing it. I cancel it because I am knackered.
Yeah.
Do you know what fear I used to have of people going, well, that's terrible, blah, outcome. Didn't happen. Everyone went, all right, let's do it next week.
Yeah.
Or we'll do it next month or whatever. Understanding. I thought, oh, things have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see that a lot with particularly in management roles where people are just, wanting to go above and beyond to do the job. And there's no senior leader saying, right, I want you to work 80 hours this week, but people are wanting to get the job done. They're wanting to feel that sense of achievement. And that's fine as a kind of short period of time in your career. If you're getting to hand over and the pressures are on, like go above and beyond, because we're good employees. That's what we want to do. But if that's every single day, and there are some projects that you'll see that there is no downtime, and that's when they stop exercising, they stop getting good sleep, they start drinking more, and the habits then that come from that's not sustainable. And that's when the workplace has got a part to play in those factors, and reflecting on that.
And I think if you look at what you hear, puts the extra hours in.
Behaviour gets rewarded.
But actually, you need to look at yourself as a business and go, why do my staff have to do 80 hours? What are we giving them that they can't do in 8 hours? I'll give you someone very close to me. It takes them a long time to do things that take me 10 minutes because I'm very good at it, but also I'm not dyslexic, and this person's dyslexic. You take that person an hour, 2 hours to write a presentation that I can go, what do I need to think about? And I write it in my book and get my computer. Headings, because I can do this on the fly, done. Now, so my boss, say we both work together, me and this other person, my boss goes, why don't you ask Stu? Tell him what you want and he'll help you. And he'll be done in 15 minutes and he'll be happy with it. I'm sure. If not, tell him and he'll make it 16, 17 minutes, right? Rather than you spending 3 hours. I don't know if anyone goes, what are they doing? Why is it taking them so long?
Yeah.
Rather than,
what do you need?
There's so much work to do. That person's doing 60, 70 hours. Now, I'm fortunate with my employer. I remember putting in my time card one day and it had 15 hours in. And they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Being honest about that rather than just, I only did 8 hours today.
Yeah, being honest about it. I put an honest time card in. I got more grief.
But then how many times do you probably work on the train on the way home, those bits extra? You probably don't put those in your time sheets.
I mean,
you've got to be clear of yourself,
I work while I'm awake every day of the week. And that sounds stupid, right? But I will, it's unbelievable to some people. But I have my emails on my phone, right? I have Google alerts that come up every day to say whether my employer or the trade union or the client is in the papers yesterday, in the news. Not the papers, I don't do a paper anymore. It's working, right? That's knowledge. That's reading in the knowledge. And I suppose everyone in some form at a senior level does that. You're still working. You're still working. And I'll take calls and I'll reply to emails every day of the week. And I think we do that. But I enjoy it. And I do take a bit of that time back. So when I do those really long days, you won't see me on a Friday. The biggest difficulty is that no one else knows I'm doing those hours. It's hard to tell everyone I'm doing those hours. So they still ring you on a Friday morning when you've just got in bed. You're like, oh, I don't know how to do that certain bit of software. Thank you very much for the client. So yeah. It is hard.
Yeah, it is hard, and they talk a lot about like role modeling behaviour. And this isn't me saying to the senior leaders, right, you need to go home at 5 o'clock every day. Sometimes there are certain behaviours that get noticed by other people, and they see the long hours and the dedication and the out of hour emails that people get on a Saturday at the weekend. And as much as it's better for you to do those things because you probably enjoy it and you want to have a nicer week when you come back to work. But particularly when you look at people coming into the industry, that's what they're learning. If I want to get in that job,
I've got to smash the hours out.
I've got to do more. And it's not performance based. It's not saying, what do I need? How do we look after you so you can go home and do the rest and recovery that your body and your brain needs?
You need it. I'm finding the responsibility to do that easier to plan and just take, right? So quite often people will ring me at 8:20 in the morning. Stu, where are you? I'm just driving back from school. Yeah, well, I'll just drop my son off. Well, I live an hour from London, but I'll drop him off at school. I can then get a train. So I'd plan my meetings to start my day a bit later. Or I might not, because I'm not producing video recorders anymore like I was when I was 17. And you have to be here to make them and produce results and outcomes. And sometimes they're written down, or sometimes they're in a report, but sometimes it's a conversation where you go, listen, I can see this risk, and that's the end game. You're going to get sued, or you're not going to work for our business anymore. So let's start here. Stop it now. Yes, okay. That's it, done. Or they keep pushing the boundaries, and you're like, I'm telling you, warning you. Okay, off. So that takes more time. So some weeks are busier than others. So I don't mind doing a 3 o'clock call on a Saturday, because on Monday, my work is around, it lives on Teams. So I don't take a 2-hour journey to an office. I've got an office at home, and I sit there and do that because I'm on Teams after Teams, but I can get up, I can walk around. I don't know if you hear this on Teams calls, people working from, but they're doing a bloody washing. Yeah. That's amazing, isn't it? Because if you're on site doing, you've got Teams call, right? And you train, like my train got delayed today. But for Teams call, I've got to try and join it on the train. And then you go in and out of tunnels and it doesn't work and it's stressful. Actually, I could have been at home, nice coffee on.
Washing's done.
Good washing. My wife never works from home. And the stress, she only lives half a mile from the office. I'm 50 miles, 60 miles away. Get that in. Do this first meeting with Sylvia and then we're done. Get that out while the kettle's boiling. Make yourself another brew. Whack it in the tumble. Solar panels now, so can you just tumble to it? But that kind of thing of being allowed, granted, I'm lucky. There's only one of me does my job. There's only one of me knows how to do it, to be honest. So I need the availability 7 days so that I can do things like that. And you need to take and give a bit.
Yeah. But that comes with your experience and probably, like you say, protecting your own mental health now. You've learned how to be able to say, no, I can't do that. Or I'm going to do this. And given the ability to, or the autonomy to be able to do that, not so easy with some other roles that you have. But I mean, we've spoken about COVID on my podcast and actually the impact of that. But that did open up a lot of people's eyes. I see particularly like with young fathers, they spend all that time with their children, and again, you speak to people that have had children 20 years ago, they're like, well, I didn't even see my children growing up. I didn't see that. And you definitely seen, particularly, younger construction managers, as an example, saying, actually, this is really important to me. And being able to do that, it's not perfect. It's not like going to work in Google or whatever, and you can balance all of that stuff. But yeah, we are recognising the benefits that brings.
There are some. I mean, it tends to just be a Monday, really. The rest of the time, I'm where I'm needed or where I want to be. I can go. It's weird. I've got free license to roam and do, but it's great at the same time. And you can meet people anywhere. I don't have a desk. I think I've said to you before. I do. I've always got a desk if I want one. Before anyone says, oh, you've always got a place at mine. I can go where I want and pick up a desk and work there. And then I can work remotely. It's fine. But I think you have to be cognizant of those people that come in with the change in mentality after COVID. Hear a lot about we were the first back to work. Sympathy with that opinion. Looking back, luckily we were right. It was okay for people to come back to work because actually there was no evidence of COVID being spread on the tube
Or on construction
or on
sites.
construction
Yeah.
sites or out in the open
Mm.
air,
Mm.
right? So it spread like flu and cold does. So in the office, it probably was difficult. Outside, probably not so much. But those people being able to be at home, experience their kids, the good and the bad of that, right?
Yeah,
Why do people
absolutely.
become parents?
Yeah, a lot of people wanted to be on site, but then I think this is why like construction is such a unique industry, because we work so much better together. We talk about it a lot on projects. So if you've got a problem, trying to do it over a Teams call, get everyone in a room, you can solve this challenge quickly, and you need that, and that's why some people love the industry, and that's why a lot of people have left, because they want to have a different balance. But that power of coming together and people is, I think, what makes us so unique.
Did you see? How do you see then the people that are being made to come back to work and not do the remote? What's the impact that you've seen from that?
I think that there are challenges with certain groups of people. I'm a young, I'm 40. I don't know if that's young anymore, but
Younger than me.
my daughter's 4. I couldn't get an employed job working in construction. The jobs I used to, it is impossible. I'm a single mum as well, so I have to take my daughter to school and pick her up.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Those women that would probably in similar situations, and men, that might be in a similar situation, that you are really limited in ability to work in the same way. But I don't see, necessarily companies being that strict and saying that's what the rules are. But you are going to meet, the way the industry is, it will mean that there'll be certain people that this just isn't for them. And I look at my time back in tunnelling with the shift patterns, and there was a big, folks, how do we get women into tunnelling? And I was like, if they haven't got children, yeah, we can find a way to put for those roles. But if they're the main caregiver, then 12-hour shifts in a week isn't going to work. But yeah, it's not an easy solution like it is in other industries. But what research has shown is that people want flexibility, but they want the autonomy to make those decisions. So if they, like for you, I worked late last night, so I'm not going to come in this morning. You can make that decision on your own. Sometimes it's not about necessarily saying, right, I want to work from home, but I want to come in later, or I want to be able to work in a different location. You've got that power to do that, and trying to enable people to have a little bit more control. Sometimes organisations go blanket, this is the rule, this is what you do.
Everyone in.
And there's the flexibility is quite hard to then allow people to feel that they've got the choice, and that's where the stress becomes, because I haven't got any options here unless I change companies.
I think we've got to change that mentality. So many benefits. To coming in as well, to being in the office. The incidental learning, we used to call it earwigging, right? But incidental learning of listening to people stood behind you talking about something on a project, and you might go, sorry for listening. Yeah. And come up with a solution. Someone will be talking to you. Stu, glad you're here. This happens a lot. Right? So I'll wander in and they go, oh, can I have a cup of tea with you? Because they hadn't thought about it. That doesn't happen on Teams, because you can't bump into people on Teams. There are benefits. So that's why I like 1 day, 4 day, just because, and then also I can get my admin done, because I'm terrible at doing my expenses. I forget. Awful, in fact. The 4 days coming in, bumping into people is brilliant for me.
And for mental health, power of connection with people is a fundamental thing about how we feel. Yeah.
There's a downside to working from home, which is you're at home, you're at home, you're at home, you're at home. You work at home, you live at home, you breathe at home.
Your computer's always there. Yeah. I'll just pop on and check that email, or just do that. And there's no separation.
I mean, I was one day trying to do stuff, and I've packed my life. Jackie would tell you this. I packed my life with so much stuff. I run a football club and a football team, and I'm in Panto, and I'm doing a podcast, and I've got a full-time job. I'm mostly putting him in a husband and a dad to 2 kids, right? Yeah, she's like, when do you get time? And then I'm sitting there on Monday, and I've got 2 screens on for work. So I've got my computer on. So I've got 3 computers set up at home, because that one's got emails coming in about stuff for the football club. But I'm quite happily going up, boom, 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 boom. But I need to not, you pack your life full of stuff. Yeah. So you need to get out. You need to sit on a train where the signal's rubbish. Yeah. I love that bit. Download your podcasts, people.
And get good at being bored and just, not feeling like you've got to. And I mean, the devices and the technology and what we're learning about the impact of this.
Worst thing I ever bought. Apple Watch. Can't live without it. Yeah. When I went away for a week camping I forgot to charge. It was the best thing ever. I don't care how many steps I did on holiday. I'm off. I don't care about the emails from people that they want, that can't wait till I come back. Well, ring me.
That's
Or
why.
don't actually. But
So that's why like rest is so important. And like we say, coming to these projects where pressure's on all the time, they don't have the opportunity just to say, right, I've forgotten my charger today, because they've got to always be ready for dealing with it. And the industry could think about this more and say, right, how do we really make some change here, and just not have this acceptance that that's what happens in this industry. Like, we are always working every hour.
Try. There's a wonderful thing on Outlook where it says send during normal working hours.
Send.
Schedule send. That's a bit more respectful. There are times where I don't do that, but that's a bit more respectful for people, so they can get it when they should be working, and it's not that urgent. The panic I had this morning when I picked my phone up and it was on 10%. I had forgot to flick the switch. Oh my God. Biggest issue was it's the key for my car. Because I've got a Tesla, right? It's my phone. So I just charged it on the way to work. So I just put it on through podcast.
Yeah. The power of technology, we need it in construction, but it has its negative side.
We need to detox from it, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that will help our physical and mental well-being. Everything needs to rest. We all got to sleep at night. It's also to process the stuff that's going on in your brain as well as your body. And I think a bit of digital detox. I could be laughing her head off at this because I'm the world's worst. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram all the time.
Setting your own boundaries, what's right for you. And sometimes that only comes after crisis. Like you only realise these things are important when things become too tough.
Any closing thoughts? Where are we going? What are we doing next? What should we prioritise next?
I think there's kind of an opportunity for the industry to say, right, what are we willing to accept here? This whole thing about long hours, the programs are tight, there's not enough budget, all the things that we just kind of say is normal for our industry. There's got to be someone, we've got to start standing up and saying, actually, no, like we can do better here. It's not just part of the industry. We can find ways through it. I think trying to come back to this whole safety perspective, like what do we do for safety? We put resources, systems, processes in place to make sure we've identified the risk, measured it, evaluated it, and minimised it where we could possible, and then continue to say, right, how do we continuously improve? I think there's jobs that go well. We don't learn from those jobs what went well. We don't plan enough in the design stage and the very early starts of a project. Say, right, what do we need to do to look after people here? There are a number of steps that we could go through. I am a big advocate for ISO 45003. Now I know ISO standards. Some people are just like, oh gosh, what is it all about? But from a kind of plan, do, check, act approach for mental health, it's something. It's a framework that I've seen some of the organisations that we're working with. When you start looking through the principles of it, it is exactly the same as what we did for safety, leadership and commitment. How do we, continuous improvement processes? We're good at that. We understand that. Like if we started to all follow that type of thought process from a psychosocial risk perspective, we will not solve the problems. As we said, there's no silver bullet, but we will start to see actually a movement in the right direction. So I'm a big advocate for that as one thing that we can do. I think there's a lot of awareness that we need to do about moving from an individual focus and a reactive focus, like the mental health first aiders and that type of thing, to a organisational focus. Like what do we need to do as an organisation? We still need to look after our people. We still need that support, and we could do better from a physical and a mental health perspective. There's so much more we can give our workers, but we also need to look at ourselves and say, right, actually, what are some of the things that we can do? Can't solve all of it, but we can do some things to make a difference. And even just normalising that conversation. What's going on in this project? What are our challenges? How do we make this? Well, what can we do to improve it? Even just having that conversation automatically makes people feel, right, things are different here. Like they care about this stuff. Haven't got the answer, but they're trying, and absolutely. There'll be things that will have some impact on some people's. I think, I've got lots of ideas, other thoughts about what things that I've seen work well. But starting to really showcase. And I'll put a bit of pressure on clients to say, what can you do? And what's your responsibility as a client to make sure you're minimizing the impact on people? Yes, but yeah.
I'm going to do a Gavin Coyle curveball then.
Okay, go for it. I love it.
So, one book you've read that everyone else should read that you recommend?
Goodness, don't you throw me now. I hadn't planned for this one.
I know I do.
One book.
I don't care whether it's fact, fiction, whatever.
One of the books, and actually this was a book that I read through Mace, was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Have you read that one?
No, but I've seen it though.
There's some, it was something that and one of the things I was talking about, always starting with the end in mind. And they had this exercise where you imagine you're at your own funeral, and what would someone be saying? What would you want someone to say about you? And actually, I think about that quite a lot, because I was like, well, actually, there are certain things that I'd love people to say that I was kind and I was generous and caring, all those things, and that's always been in my mind from an individual perspective, but equally from a workplace perspective. Like you said at the beginning, what do we want to achieve here? That's probably one of the most influential books that I've read. The Harry Potter series is probably not one that.
Listen, when Gavin asked me, mine was The Sound of Laughter by Peter Kay, because it's all his life experience, lived experience, really funny. You can relate to it. But there was that, and I just read Sir Alan Coxshaw's Building Bridges and Networking, and book, his memoirs. He was the chairman of AMEC. He made AMEC. So those are the 2 books I'd looked at. But, Peter Kay was first. So I'm like, well, look, thank you ever so much for coming on.
Thank you, Stuart. Thanks for having me. Let's keep working together. See
100%.
See what else we can do. Make a difference.
Cool.
Brilliant.
Well, thanks everyone for listening and watching, if you're doing the watching version as well. And I look forward to welcoming you on to the next episode. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, everyone. Bye.